Hello everyone, this is CA Rekha. So today in this session we'll be discussing on what is audit evidence all about. So what constitutes audit evidence, what are the characteristics of audit evidence, what are the different types of audit evidence that is available, what are the different audit procedures that is applied, and what are the different audit techniques in order to procure audit evidence, and also what are the factors that affect the reliability or sufficiency of the audit evidence. So all these will be covered in this today's session. So we'll start with SA 500, that is what is audit evidence. So before moving on to the definition of audit evidence, in the previous sessions I would have discussed what is the necessity for obtaining audit evidence. So what is the main purpose of an audit is to give an opinion on the financials. So in order to give an opinion on the financials, what is required? The auditor has to reach some conclusions, and this conclusions has to be effectively communicated by means of a report. So in order to reach at these kind of conclusions, what has to be done? Some audit procedures has to be applied and the audit has to be conducted. So just by applying some audit procedures and conducting the audit, can a particular audit reach at conclusions? No. In order to reach it whether something has gone wrong or if there is any misstatement, where there is any fraud or error, he has to make or he has to get substantial evidence. Some evidence has to be obtained. Even not only in audit, even in the outside real world also, if some crime or some kind of a forgery has happened, what happens? Can we just directly tell a particular person is responsible for that? No. We need to obtain some evidence. Some evidence has to be required to say that such and such thing has happened on that particular day, and because of the evidence collected, collaborating whatever evidence is collected, this person is supposed to have committed that crime or money laundering or forgery or whatever it is. So this evidence forms a crucial part of the audit. So why audit procedures are applied? One of the main reasons is to obtain audit evidence. The audit evidence, based on the kind of audit evidence, based on the audit evidence that is obtained, and also based on the professional judgment of the particular auditor, he will come to conclusions regarding whether the financial statements are free of any material misstatement or not. And this will be communicated by means of a report to the management or to the client. So what constitutes audit evidence, or what is audit evidence? Audit evidence is nothing but the information that is being used by the auditor to arrive at conclusions. So we'll see first what is audit evidence all about. So audit evidence is the information that is used by the auditor to arrive at conclusions on which what the auditor's opinion is based. So what does it include? So does it include only your financials, or does it include only your accounting information from the accounting records? No, it can constitute both. Either the auditor can arrive or obtain evidence from the underlying books of accounts or from the accounting records, and also from other information. So it is need not be only financial, it could be non-financial data also, and it could be even obtained outside the entity. Not only within the entity, it can be outside, even outside the entity. So it includes both what? Information from accounting records and other information. It can includes both. Now we'll see what are the kind of audit evidence that could be obtained from the accounting records. So the basically before going on to from where the information is obtained for coming at obtaining audit evidence, the main or the basic objective of a particular audit is to make sure that the audit risk is nil. Audit risk is very, very less. What is the audit risk? Audit risk is the risk of auditor giving an inappropriate opinion. So sometimes even if all the audit evidence is obtained, even if you do a sampling, sometimes the opinion whatever it is being given by the auditor might not be correct. It might be inappropriate with the considering the evidence collected and the audit procedures applied. So there is always a risk of giving an inappropriate opinion. So this risk of giving an inappropriate opinion is called as the audit risk. So the objective of one of the objective of audit is to make sure that the risk or audit risk is minimum. So in order to obtain a reasonable assurance on whatever opinion that the particular auditor is giving is fair, we have to make sure that the audit risk is kept as low as possible. So in order to keep the audit risk as low as possible, you need to obtain more audit evidence to substantiate the point. So here what are the different documents or different uh, places from which you get the audit evidence. One is from your accounting records and the other is from the other information. So now from the accounting records, if you say from the accounting records, you have one of the main thing is from the ledgers. From the ledgers, your journals, you have your invoices, then what you have your electronic fund transfer records, your cost allocation sheets, then reconciliations, worksheets, spreadsheets, disclosures. So all this, whatever you get to see from the entity's books, all the ledgers, whatever you verify, your journals, it could be your trial balance, all this constitutes your accounting records. All these constitutes the information obtained from accounting records. Now coming to what are the other information. So it need not be always obtained from the records or invoices or cost sheets or cost allocations, but it could be obtained from certain other places. So what are the other places from which you can obtain the audit evidence? One of the places is from the minutes of meeting. Minutes of meeting, because major decisions that is being taken by the company, the general body, or in the minutes of meet or during the meeting, the minutes will also provide a source for the evidence. Why that particular decision was taken, why that particular investment was made, why this much capital was raised, what is the major expenses for that particular quarter. So even if you missed out any kind of information from the accounting records, the act could be compensated even from obtaining other information. So other information constitutes what? Your minutes of meeting. Then what? Written confirmations. What are written confirmations? Either it could be the management representations or the third party confirmations. Management representation means management is giving a representation, or management is giving in writing that it has fulfilled all the responsibilities of the management with respect to the audit. So whatever the management has to do from the side, they have fulfilled for the purpose of carrying out the audit. For example, preparing the financials, safeguarding the assets, then compliance with the laws and regulations, then preparation of financials as per the applicable financial reporting framework. So all these things are the duties of the management. So management gives a representation to the auditor that it has fulfilled all its duties with respect to the audit. So that is another kind of information. Again, written confirmations. What are written confirmations or external confirmations? Suppose what from the books or from your vouchers or from the journals, certain things you are not able to make out. You need additional confirmation or additional audit evidence to confirm whatever is written or whatever is entered into the books of accounts are true. So in order to say, for example, I want to check the total bills receivable, whether I want to see that the total figure for bills receivable is correct or not. So in that case, what I'll do, I have to get a confirmation from one of the debtors. To get a confirmation from one of the debtors that this is the total amount outstanding from him at this particular point of time. So this debtor or this creditor, I mean say if it is a bills payable, it is creditor. I want to obtain a confirmation from these people. So what I do, I'll directly ask them what is the total amount that is outstanding by them. Is there any subsequent payments that is made by them? Is there any kind of payment that was made for the last year's payment that is made this year? So all this information I could collect from these third parties. These are all third parties, parties that is outside the entities, not within the entities. These are people who are owing amount or whom the company owes amount, and these are outside the entity. These are third party. So these are called as external confirmations or third party confirmations. Then what? Internal control manuals. So all the things, even though you go through the books of accounts, even though you get the confirmation, certain things you might not know why the company is working in that particular way or what process the company is following. So in order to get a clear understanding of what is the policies followed by the company, what are the processes that is followed by the company, you need to get an understanding about what is the internal control procedure. So who does what? What is the authority that is given to this person for how much amount this particular person can sanction, or what is the maximum expense that can be done for that particular period, or who can authorize it. All the things will be covered in your internal control manuals. And delegation of authorities. Delegation of authorities is who can do what, who is given what authority. who can authorize this particular payment. Say for example, payments above 1 lakh should be authorized by the senior finance manager, and up to say 10,000 or 50,000 can be authorized by the accountant. So different level segregations will be there. So we have to see what authority is being delegated to which person, and whether the particular transaction or whether the particular amount or whether the particular expenditure has been authorized by the appropriate person. Say for example, there is an expense of 1 crore or say 50 lakhs. This expense should not be authorized by the accountant as per the delegation of authorities manual. If it is authorized, then again it is a violation of the policy, company policy. So all these constitutes your other information, your minutes of meeting, your written confirmations, third party or external confirmations, internal control manuals, delegation of authorities, all the things are obtained from your other information. Now we'll see what is the characteristics of audit evidence. So we saw what is audit evidence, from what are the places from which we obtain audit evidence. It could be either from the accounting records or from other sources. Now we'll see what are the characteristics of audit evidence. So what is the characteristics of audit evidence? So basically, even in exam when you write, make sure whenever audit evidence you write, make sure audit evidence is accompanied by these two words. That is, one is sufficient, one is appropriate. So two things, characteristics is audit evidence should be or must be sufficient and appropriate. So what constitutes sufficiency and what constitutes appropriateness? Sufficiency means what? As the name indicates, it should be quantity wise, it should be apt or enough. Appropriateness means what? Quality. So if quality and quantity wise, the audit evidence should be good in order to arrive at conclusions and to provide reasonable assurance that the financials are free from any material misstatement. So one, sufficiency, quantity wise it should be good. Appropriateness means what? Quality wise. Quality means what? What is, how relevant is the audit evidence? Is it relevant for the conclusions that I am reaching? Is it reliable? The source from which I am obtaining the audit evidence, is it a correct one? Whether is there any kind of manipulation with the audit evidence, or whether can I trust the source of this audit evidence or trust the persons that is giving me or providing me with the audit evidence? Whether the internal controls that is required during the preparation of books of accounts or financials is effective. If the internal controls are effective, what happens? Automatically the reliability of the books can be increased. So when the internal controls are very effective and the company is following strict policies, strict segregation of duties, 6 hours, strict authorization procedures, all these things, if it is very effective, then what happens? Automatically whatever information that is produced, whatever books of accounts they are preparing will be true. It will be correct. So in those cases the reliability will be more. So audit evidence, there are two characteristics. One is sufficient and one is appropriate. Audit evidence should be good in quantity as well as in quality. Quality in the sense it should be relevant and reliable. Two things. Now we'll see what are the factors or when can you say the information is more reliable. So when can you say the information is more reliable? So information always, whatever information or whatever audit evidence you obtain is influenced by what? There are few factors which influence the information. One is what? The source from which I am obtaining that information. The place from where I am obtaining the information. Second is what? What is the nature of that information and what are the circumstances under which it is obtained. So I suppose say I am obtaining some information within the entity. So within the entity means what happens? It may or may not be reliable depending on the internal control effectiveness. If the internal control is very effective, strict measures are being taken, there is proper peer review, proper surprise checks within the staff. So all these things are happening. In such cases, I can rely on the information. So source I know. Now circumstances under which it is obtained. So suppose if I am getting the information from one of the say for accountant or maybe a little bit a person who is having a lower authority, and where there is some kind of a tendency to manipulate the data, or I am getting some data under the pressure. In such cases there is some tendency to manipulate the data. or maybe from one of the debtors. I'm getting the confirmation from one of the debtors also, but what happens is this person has been uh, purchasing from the particular company for a long, he's a long, very old customer. So even though I am obtaining a confirmation from that particular person, it might not be true, it might not be correct. So depending on what circumstance, or maybe the company is under some kind of a litigation, so at that time I'm going for an external confirmation. So some kind of a case is being put against the company, and at that time I'm going and asking or seeking some kind of confirmation from the other party. So will they get a proper information, because already there is some kind of a tug of war between the company and the, there is some kind of a legal case going on. So whatever information I get that time might not be correct, it might be influenced. So circumstances under which I obtain the information also matters. So reliability will be depending on the source, nature, and the circumstances under which I obtain the information. Now, when is the reliability increased? Mainly, whatever audit evidence I obtain, in a general scenario, whatever information I obtain, if I obtain from a independent source, and that source, if it is outside the entity, you can say the reliability is more. Rather than checking your financials, or rather than obtaining or checking the bills or invoices within the company, whatever information I obtain from independent sources outside the entity, it could be more reliable. For example, your creditors, debtors, bank, all these things will be more reliable. But when will the sources or within the entity be more reliable? When the controls are effective. That is the second point. From the entity, when the internal controls are proper and effective. When there are proper procedures that is followed within the entity, then in such a case, even though I am obtaining or audit evidence within the entity, it will be reliable. Third is what? Obtained directly by the auditor. So suppose the auditor is directly obtaining information. Directly obtaining information means what? I am actually observing how a particular control is being implemented, rather than going and asking how it is implemented, or rather than asking questions about what is the procedure followed. So directly I am observing a particular application of a control. In such cases, the audit evidence is more reliable. So rather than by inference, if I am present at the time of operation or application of that particular internal control and see how the particular data is being obtained, then that will be more reliable. Then provided by the original documents. What means what? When the particular audit evidence is provided by original documents, not by photocopies or digitized ones, those provided by original documents will be more reliable. That makes sense, right? So rather than obtaining photocopies, means there is some kind of a manipulation. If the control is very weak, anybody could scan something, if any kind of information could pop up, so it need not be reliable. So those which is provided by original documents is provided to be more reliable. And lastly, those evidence that we obtain in writing, or those which are documented, is considered to be more reliable than your oral or visual audit evidence. So even if you see something, or maybe whatever you hear audit evidence, that will not be that effective than what is obtained from writing. So writing means what? Tomorrow the person, or they cannot not repudiate that I haven't written. What is the main use of a signature? That is non-repudiation. Once you sign a particular document, tomorrow you cannot say I haven't signed the document, right? So similar case applies here. It should be written or documented. Tomorrow there should not be any confusion regarding whether this particular audit evidence was there at the time of inspection or verification, or at the time of conducting the audit. So written and documented one is considered to be more reliable. So what is the reliability? Reliability depends on the source, on the nature and the circumstances under which it is obtained, and the reliability is increased when it is obtained from any independent sources outside the entity, or within the entity when the internal controls are very effective, or it is obtained directly by the auditor, provided by original documents, and it should be written and documented. So this constitutes your reliability of the information. Now we'll see what are the factors that affect the sufficiency and the appropriateness of audit evidence. So we said the audit evidence should be sufficient and appropriate, that is in quantity and quality it should be good. Now what are the factors that affect the sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence? So one of the factors that influence the sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence is, First one is materiality. Materiality means what? Any particular transaction or any particular amount, transaction value will be material. What if it affects the if it affects the users decision of the users of the financial statement. So any amount or any transaction in your financial, if it has some kind of impact on the decision of the people who are using the financial statements, in such cases that particular amount is said to be, or that particular value is said to be material. So when the amount under consideration is material or it is quite huge, then automatically what happens, the amount of audit evidence that you require to prove that particular transaction or particular amount of value is not materially misstated, you have to obtain more. So your sufficiency and appropriateness increases with that. Second is what? Your risk of material misstatements or fraud or errors. That means what? Risk of material misstatement means, say for example, before starting the audit itself, there is a assessment made by the auditor that the risk of material misstatement or the chances of fraud or errors would be more for that particular type of entity doing that particular kind of a work. So in such cases, as an auditor, the duty of the auditor is to make sure that the audit risk is low. Audit risk is low means the chance of giving an inappropriate opinion is very less. In such a cases, what the auditor should do, you should make sure that the risk of material misstatement is low, frauds or errors is low. So in order to make sure that the risk is low, he has to obtain more audit evidence, and those audit evidence should be of good quality. It should be a reliable one and it should be having sufficient quantity too. Third is what? The type of information that is available. What information that is being available. So again, the trend indications. Trend indication, what information is available means, from if it is from here within the entity, what are the conditions? If there is a good internal control, then fine. It will be sufficient and appropriate. I can take that. But if it is I am obtaining outside the entity from independent sources, means it considered to be more reliable. So this is a type of information available. Next one is what? Trend indications. Trend indications means what? From the accounting ratios and from the trend comparison, I see last year this is a total sales. This year the sales should have been this much, but the sales is very much underreported, or the profit is very much underreported. So now I have to obtain enough audit evidence to make sure or substantiate why there is a dip in sales or why there is a dip in the profit. So if the accounting ratios or if the trend indications is fine, then it is okay. But if there is a huge variation in the trend, say last year my total sales was 10 crores. This year the total sales is only 50 lakhs. There is a sudden dip in the total sales or total turnover. In that case, what I have to do? I have to obtain more audit evidence to substantiate the same. Why such a dip has happened. Again, previous audit experiences. So even all these things are the factors that directly affect the sufficiency and appropriateness. But say for example, I have gone to n number of audits. There is a lot of audit experience. So in that case, even though all these things are fine, even though the amount is not material, or even though the risk of material misstatement is very low, even though the trend indications show a very very adverse situation, all these things, but depending on my previous audit experience, I might have some understanding of what audit evidence, whether the particular audit evidence is sufficient or appropriate for the particular scenario. So again, that also matters. And finally, the size and the characteristics of the population. Say there are like few transactions, like say 50 transactions or so. In that cases, what happens? The amount of audit evidence, whatever I procure, will automatically be less depending on that. Say there are huge number of transactions, n number of transactions. Can I just go about with some small amount of audit evidence or some kind of audit evidence, even though if it is not reliable? Can I consider that? No, I cannot consider that. I need to make sure that if the number of transactions or the volume of transactions is more, then the total quantity of audit evidence will increase proportionally. But in certain entities, even though the number of transactions, say even during 1 year itself, there are only 50 transactions. For example, there is only 50 transactions for the whole year. In such cases, I cannot do a sampling. Out of these 50 transactions, I cannot pick and choose and then apply the audit procedures. So in such cases, what I have to do, even though this is a 50 transactions, I need to make sure that I get appropriate evidence, sufficient and appropriate evidence to substantiate the point. So all these things are considered while are those factors that influence your sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence. One is the materiality, how that particular value, how that particular transaction affects the decision of the users of financial statement. If it is material, the amount is material, or if it is material as per the judgment of the auditor. In such case, you need to obtain more audit evidence. Sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence will automatically increase. Then risk of material misstatement, frauds or error. So depending on the assessment of risk of material misstatement, the objective is to make sure that the audit risk is nil or it is very much reduced. In such case, I need to obtain more audit evidence. Then what information that is being available, whether it is obtained within the entity or outside the entity, who provides the information, whether the auditor is directly obtaining the information, whether it is written. So type of information also it depends. Then trend indications, your accounting ratios, diverse, very negative trends, all these things again constitutes your or influences your sufficiency and appropriateness. Next is previous audit experience, and finally the size and characteristics of the populations, the number of transactions that has happened. So now we saw what are the factors that is under consideration. Now we see what is the type of audit evidence that is available. Type of audit evidence in the sense what? From depending on where you obtain the audit evidence, there are three types. One is depending on the nature, one is depending on the source, and one is depending on the conclusions reached. So depending on the nature of audit evidence, there are three things. One is your oral audit evidence, one is your visual, and one is written. So that what you can obtain, just you hear something, okay, these things are not wrong, these things have not been made, and sometimes even you can see what are the procedures that are being performed. But the reliability will be the highest with what? Written audit evidence. So out of the three types of audit evidence, oral, visual and written audit evidence is highly reliable. Now what? Depending on the source. Source in the sense what? Whether you are obtaining the audit evidence within the entity or you are obtaining from independent sources, that is external or outside the entity. So if the source is within the entity, it is considered to be reliable only when the internal controls are effective. Only when internal controls are effective. Internal control during the design, maintenance, and also during the implementation phase of preparation of books of accounts. All these times when internal control is effective, only you can say that whatever is obtained within the organization is reliable. Suppose I am obtaining from any independent sources outside the organization. That is considered to be the best or the most reliable one. So always external information or those obtained from external sources is considered to be more reliable unless the internal, those information obtained from internal source is there if the internal controls are very effective. In such case, internal information will be effective. Yes, it is always the information that is obtained from external sources. External independent sources. Now depending on the conclusions, there are two types, persuasive and conclusive. What is persuasive? Persuasive means it is an interim audit evidence. It is not an absolute one. Whereas conclusive means what? It is always absolute. You can give 100% assurance that this is right. But when you consider audit evidence, because there are n number of inherent limitations within the audit. What are the inherent limitations? Because you are not completely covering all the transactions. You might take a sample, you might apply certain procedures. That limitations with respect to obtaining audit evidence. Sometimes you might not directly obtain the audit evidence. So there are n number of inherent time limitation, resource limitation, n number of limitations for obtaining the audit evidence or for conducting the audit. Because of all these limitations, audit evidence is always persuasive in nature. You cannot get 100% absolute assurance or 100% absolute audit evidence. It is always an interim audit evidence that you get. So conclusiveness is actually absent. Though we say that the financials are representing a true and fair way, it is only based on the persuasive. It is never conclusive. We can only give a reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance is the highest level of assurance that we can give, but we can never give an absolute assurance. It is that 100% this financials are foolproof. I cannot give. This is depending on whatever samples I selected, depending on whatever transactions that is being covered, depending on the audit procedures I applied, depending on the audit evidence that I obtain, these are the conclusions reached. So it is always persuasive in nature and never a conclusive audit evidence. So there are three types. One is your nature, one is source, and the conclusions based on. But depending on the nature, it is oral, visual, and written. And depending on the source, it could be either internal or external audit evidence. And depending on the conclusions, it is either persuasive or conclusive. So there are two different types of audit evidence.